One of the positive things about being the president of ICA is that once a year you get to phone one person who has been selected by the board for the Lifetime Achievement Award. And I'm pretty lucky because last year it was a friend. I got a chance to phone a very close friend, Bob Mason, and this year it's another close friend, also called Bob, also someone who's been in the industry a very long time, and that's Bob Brainwood. So, Bob, congratulations. You have been nominated as you already know, as the recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award for Independent Cinemas Australia. What was your response when I first rang you?
Mate, it's absolutely fantastic. I can't believe it. I am just over the moon. It's just over the moon. I am, mate. And I have to take and thank my starting point, because it was Bob Vagona who gave me the job at the Cremorne Orpheum in 1957 to be able to continue in this industry. So what an industry it's been. May I tell you a couple of funny stories?
Go for it.
Go for it. Oh, mate, I was showing The High and the Mighty at Cremorne Orpheum, and we left out reel 6. I left out by mistake. And if anyone's seen The High and the Mighty, you might notice that the plane that does a dive down to the water, well, the next reel was a changeover and the plane was in the water and the people were trying to get off the plane onto the wing. Mate, I realised the mistake, but I couldn't rectify it. And I think at the Roxy Nowra, when it was a single screen, one of the other things that was very embarrassing was Raiders of the Lost Ark. The projectionist put reel 5 upside down. So I've had some funny things happen, I'll tell you. There's more and more. I'd have to take all night to tell you.
And did you ever find whenever anything really went wrong, you were always out of carbon?
Always. Oh, yes. That was a terrible issue. You used to have to trim the carbon so that you could get through, you know.
Okay.
Today wouldn't know what you're talking about.
Indeed. Okay, so you started in the projection box.
Yeah.
When was it that you moved from being the projection box to the other side of the wall?
Okay, I had the opportunity of, because I went from the Cremorne Orpheum to Hoyts, which was Hoyts Chatswood, and from Hoyts Chatswood in 1961 I went to the French's Forest Drive-In, and the reason why I got into the drive-ins was because the Hoyts were closing their theatres, and a fantastic guy by the name of Kel Ball was the man that gave me the opportunity, and also Ray Calloway was the manager there, and he also gave me a great opportunity. They're all deceased, unfortunately, but they were beautiful, wonderful people. And from there, I spent 19 years in the drive-ins, and then I had the opportunity of buying the Roxy Nowra, which is what I did. So in 1977, I actually came down to Nowra, and I was able to buy the Roxy Nowra.
And on you went from there. Now, you were also involved in ICA, originally NATO, I think, when we first formed. So there was just a few people involved. Tell us about that, how this organisation came to be.
Well, it was actually, I guess, myself that actually said to a chap by the name of Harry Waghorn, right, who I said, we need to make a conference, to do a conference and get people to come to the conference. And we need to get a lady who I knew who would sponsor the conference to get people to come. And that's how that happened. Now, I'm just trying to think now when it was, because it must have been somewhere around about the 80s. Or no, hang on, it might have been in the 90s, actually, when we did it. Yeah, I think it was the 90s. So it was done. It was also done with the other chap, was Mike Franklin, who is now deceased as well, if anyone remembers Mike Franklin. So there was the three of us, actually, and we met at the Workers Club in Goulburn, believe it or not.
I've heard about that meeting in Goulburn. I think a few other people. Didn't Steve Laws stick his head in there and a few other people?
No, not on the inaugural meeting, but because in the inaugural meeting we actually discussed it, and then we brought people in after that. Mm-hmm. So there was a black chap by the name of Phil Doyle from Cogra. There was Steve Laws, and John Casouls was another chap that came in as well. And with them, we all got together and formed the operation of the first conference.
So when you look at what those beginnings, you look at ICA now, do you get some kind of pride in the things that we've achieved in those times?
Oh, absolutely, mate. You've done it. You've really put the icing on the cake, as they say.
Of course, without the start, we wouldn't be here, would we?
Not at all. No, I guess that's what all good businesses are about. You know, you start off small and you spread your wings, and that's what you've done. You've done a great job in spreading your wings.
What do you think in the next year or so? What do you think are the biggest challenges for cinemas?
The challenges for cinemas is keeping your theatres clean. You know, this is the main thing, because we're talking about independent cinema. We're not talking about circuits. We're talking about independent, and to keep them clean, keeping your eye on the ball on the release of schedules. And I think presentation and good equipment that today is very, very important. You know, back in the days when I was doing a projectionist, we had Cremorne Orpheum had C&Ws and Prospector Sound, right? Which I think was only in the Metro theatres at Crow's Nest Metro. So that's how far I'm going back.
And of course, Prospector Sound, for those of you who don't know, was one where it was still only mono, but it used to move across the screen from one side to the other. So yeah, if a shot was fired by a cowboy on the left-hand side, the sound would shift over to there, and if the Indian yelled on the other side, then the sound would move over to there. Of course, the beginning of many of those things that cinemas did, or that the business did, just to try to keep ahead of the game and give something new for people to watch. Yeah,
that's right. And of course, MGM was the leader in that. You know, when you think about it, because they were very in the early stages. The problem with Prospector Sound was that it used to go out of tune because it would need servicing every month, and if you didn't have it serviced every month, that would create enormous problems.
So, what do you think is the future? What's going to happen, do you think, at the Roxy at now in the next year or so?
Oh, I think we're doing now. We're doing record business. When films are good, we do record business. I can see that we're going to possibly move into having an area. The candy bar is, for instance, needs to be a very striking area, and I think that's going to be a major point. You know, spending per person today is a very important part of the industry, the candy bar. And if you don't get that maximum money out, you're also inviting yourself into difficult areas. So you've got to be on the ball.
Okay, Bob. So just wrapping it up, the Lifetime Achievement Award. So what would you like to say to have the final word?
Oh, mate, I am absolutely flabbergasted. When you told me, I'm just absolutely so I just can't thank enough of all the board that have voted me in, because to do this, because honestly, I'm 81 now, and when you think of it, I started at 14, and to achieve this is one of the greatest things I think in a lifetime that I could have, and I am very humble in accepting it. It's just one of the most beautiful things that one gets given.
Thank you very much, Bob. And once again, congratulations on being the 2023 recipient of ICA's Lifetime Achievement Award.
Thank you, Scotty, and good luck.